Thank you.
He's the Oz in the background.
Okay, we're live. This is the real deal now, huh? Okay.
We're live.
Shake it off, everybody. This is wild. First of all, I just want to say thank everybody for joining and welcome to Unpacking HubSpot's Inbound 2025 Unfiltered. We know inbound is always a whirlwind, and this year they dropped 200 plus product updates, new frameworks, and of course, a ton around AI. But the challenge isn't just keeping up with the news, it's figuring out what really matters to your team, maybe your customers, and your growth plans for 2026. So that's why I pulled together today's panel. There's leaders from all across the HubSpot ecosystem. We've got clients, partners, and operators. We're not here to just share the headlines, but the unfiltered takeaways. And I know everybody personally, and they're all wonderful. I'll be your moderator. I'm Christopher Nault, only slightly nervous, and I'm the founder and CEO of Growth, where I help companies align sales, marketing, and change management with the right systems and mindset. And now let's meet our panel.
I am Amber Kemmis. I am the Director of Revenue at Growth, and I've spent the last decade working for other HubSpot Elite Partners, and I consider myself to bleed orange at the end of the day.
And green.
And green now.
Thanks, all right, Brandon.
I'm Brandon Dith-Berry. I'm the Director of RevOps at Firm Pilot. I've worked at two HubSpot Elite agencies as well, but now I am a customer, and I am helping my teams with everything revenue related from marketing, sales, and customer success in HubSpot.
Cool. I'm Kim. I am the CEO at Arrows. We're a HubSpot app partner. We build onboarding plans and digital sales rooms for HubSpot users. Almost all of our customers are HubSpot users, so that's where a lot of my perspective comes from. And then we use HubSpot ourselves, so I'm the one kind of in there testing out all of the new updates for ourselves too.
Sean Doffner, VP of Marketing at Mechanicsware. I have been here a little over 20 years. I've been doing marketing and design for 25 years. New to HubSpot, client of Growth, and really my role is consolidating our different marketing teams now into one team. So really looking forward to HubSpot as one of those tools that helps me accomplish that.
Nice. I'll round us out. So I'm Andrew, a co-founder of Process Pro. So we're a HubSpot partner. We come from the RevOps kind of line and as a service, but have been doing HubSpot for the last 6 or 7 years. I'd say what our unique ability or kind of focus is really digging in deep with our clients and building custom solutions inside of HubSpot. So we do that through kind of extending and expanding what's possible with HubSpot through integrations and optimization. So excited to be here and talk about some of the things we've learned. We took a team of 7 this year at Inbound, and we're able to really divide and conquer and learn a lot. So hoping to distill some of that down through this session.
I mean, there's just so much that happened, and I really appreciate your time, and I hope everybody can get something out of this. So we're just going to hop straight into the first question. And out of everything that was announced in September at Inbound, what stood out the most, and why do you think it matters for scaling teams? And because I know Amber so well, let's have you kick things off.
I think the thing that stood out to me this year at Inbound was a lot of change. And as a partner, that means I have to shift quickly to understand all of the different changes. But the one change that I think I keep sitting on and is exciting, but not as exciting because it's complicated, are credits. Like this transition over to managing HubSpot pricing with credits. For the customer, it's amazing. For a partner who's helping you decipher how many you're going to need, it can be a little bit challenging, especially if you're integrating with other apps. And I'm sure we'll dive into that more later, but lots to learn when it comes to credits.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to credits, just because we've been using Apollo and tools like that for so long, it feels familiar, but what's everybody else's experience with that kind of transactional relationship with your software? Is it confusing? Did it make sense? Both?
I mean, as a customer, I thought I have to be careful, otherwise I'll be, my budget will be taken out halfway through the year next year, and I'll be scrambling.
That's a good point, though, with budgeting. It's Q3. You're well past mid-year. Budgets are locked in. I know I've worked with you guys for a few years now. Right. How do you deal with pricing change and resource allocation with a company your size? Well, I mean, it's a few $1,000, but it adds up.
Yeah, so we keep a little for experimentation in the budget. So I have a little, but we're already planning for 2026. So I'm more in that mindset. Like, how do we think about next year? How do we make sure we have the right amount of credits, or rather at least compensate and shift if we need more credits?
Yeah, you already mentioning thinking about 2026 is why I felt so confident that like we needed a group of people to have this conversation versus me standing on a mountain. Brandon, what do you get? I mean, you and I knew each other from a advisory board with Apollo. We know credits. How is Firm Pilot handling it?
Yeah, I mean, I already blew through all my credits, so.
Excellent.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one.
I was like, data agent, this is so cool. And then I just used all of them. So I'm probably going to buy more. It's difficult because credits are very ambiguous, right? And also different agents in HubSpot take up more credits than others. So you have to be like really careful. I like to test in small batches and just do very, very small tests with only a couple records. And then if I see really good output, then I'll obviously continue to expand. It must have been really good if I went through everything. So I'm used to using Clay, right? They have the credit model. That's probably where a lot of people are familiar with credits. And it's very easy to go through a lot of credits with Clay. And I've heard from a lot of people that Clay credits are expensive. I wouldn't necessarily say that credits are expensive. I would say that you have to figure out what's the use case and also be really careful about doing those tests, making sure that you're setting everything in a way that's going to give you the output that you want, and then not just running the entire system through so that you're burning all the credits. But that's something that I would say is just first figure out what's your use cases that are most valuable. And then if you find that you can do it at scale, then of course, put some fuel on the fire. But I definitely would say that it's something to be careful of and just keep in mind.
Definitely, I don't want to say like rookie mistake, but for people that are unfamiliar and just like letting it ride, don't do that. That's probably a good time to talk to a partner or like ping somebody on LinkedIn. Was there a sleeper update that might have a bigger impact later that was dropped? Like something that wasn't like maybe front forward. Yeah, what are you thinking?
I don't know if this was a sleeper update. I feel like people are dabbling in it, but it's definitely not making the headlines, and is a big thing that is coming up for our customers at Arrows, and we're very interested in. But that's the projects object that they launched. I think I believe it's in a public beta right now, but I think there's a lot of like talk about what this means and what it's going to be. And I was going to say, like, I think what's interesting about the announcements at Inbound is it's almost like a sneak peek of like what is the next year going to look like, because a lot of the stuff that they launch is very early, but you're kind of getting hints at like, okay, this seems to be where they're investing next. And so the projects object, I think, is a really good example of that, where I don't think anyone's jumping over to it from their existing ClickUp, Monday.com, Asana tools, but I think people are starting to get interested in like, oh, is HubSpot going in this direction, and is it going to be something that can actually compete with those types of tools, and can we actually move our project management system over there?
Yes,
yeah,
kind of so. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I think, CPQ kind of falls into that same category where it's very much out and live and you can go buy it. Is it where we want it to be? Maybe yet, maybe not, right? Like there's other CPQ tools that have been out for many years and can do a lot of things that it can't, but just that vision really since, HubSpot had that acquisition of Cashflow several years ago, and starting to see them bring in some of the CPQ features, subscription management, right? Like our team has been doing a lot with even the subscriptions API. And so a lot of these things that I think they've kind of dangled and shown us kind of where their vision is headed. I think I'm more excited about what we're going to see over the next year with those features, for sure.
It feels clearer than last year.
Yeah. And Andrew, Kim, wouldn't you agree? Like, there are scenarios where if you're going from a Monday or you're going from like a well flushed out CPQ system, like, yeah, don't convert right now while it's in beta. But there's, I think we hear the word beta and we forget that there's an entire world of people who are going from spreadsheets, who are literally building a quote out in a Google Doc. Like there's a lot of people who get huge value when converting to these very early tools, just because of where they're coming from. So I think the takeaway is like, yeah, HubSpot's got a roadmap, and then other people are at different levels of roadmap for themselves. And it doesn't mean you should avoid them just because it's not 100% there.
That's totally right. And I mean, even CPQ is an example. If you were using even quotes before, right, this is kind of a step up in a lot of ways in terms of building custom quotes and like being able to do additional functionality. Or with projects, you know, you could integrate Asana, integrate Monday, but now having more functionality as a native object rather than having to go through an extension or a custom object or kind of build that out on your own. So to your point, Amber, it's more than just the future. There's definitely some value added now.
All right, we're gonna hop into the next question. How do you decide what to act on now versus later? Which is kind of cool, kind of marries with the last part that we were talking about, and what has worked and what has not worked for when you're rolling out these changes with your team. Who wants to take the Sean, my man?
Okay.
All these new updates. I know it's a lot to handle.
Yeah. So I went in thinking one thing, focus primarily on AI, hybrid team building. That was my thing because we have a small, lean team here. We're growing. It's really easy to grow through tools versus actual FTEs. That's where I was going to get on separate conversation maybe. How do we think credits as they apply to like eventually augmenting FTE? I would have to pitch that to a board or to senior leadership, and you have to have pretty firm numbers for that. But so as we grow and we're looking for hybrid teams, I'm looking for growth and partners to think about how I can leverage it. I try to shield my team from directly getting involved with it early because it's could be a waste of time. I need them focused on what's helping our company drive revenue, what's helping us finish projects, and then I bring it on later. Once
It's
I
hard.
see a full path. Yeah.
I mean, for our own company, we're growing too, and so now it's so easy for people, especially with just so much HubSpot, to see the updates, get excited, and then poof, the day's gone, the week's gone, and they almost forget what's happening in the real time. I mean, hopefully panels like this are helpful for others. Anything you want to add, Brandon?
Yeah, a lot of the updates you'll see are enhancements to existing features. So what it will be oftentimes is maybe you roll out an update and you'll have to let your team know like, hey, this is something that's changed. But even before you do that, you have to consider, is this going to be valuable? Is this going to impact my team and their process? And you have to think about the change management perspective because you don't want to be throwing a wrench in people's daily process. So you have to consider what is, the most important updates that's actually going to help my team and make them more efficient, and also include them into the conversation and show them before you just kind of roll something out. You have to show them the value of the update and say like, hey, test this out, give me feedback, and what do you really think about this? And then you can move forward. But I wouldn't just, go into the updates and necessarily like enroll every user in like a brand new update. Because I've definitely done that. And then people are like, it's called segments now. What do I do? So, I mean, that was just a rollout anyway, but it's definitely something that is a challenge because there is always a new update in HubSpot. I feel like every day. But I personally like it. And the way that I look at it is just continue to be curious and always be open to try new things. And don't be afraid of the change, kind of embrace those changes, because oftentimes when you persist and learn how to use it, it may actually help you.
You stole the words from me. I was going to say like the value add here is be iterative and then have that kind of growth mindset that we are named after. Everything can be forward moving, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. But we're going to hop into the next question. The big conversation around Data Hub this year. Do you all see Data Hub replacing third-party tools, or will it mostly complement your existing stack? Maybe what real-world use cases excite you the most? Quick pause before we dive too deep into that. Who wants to talk about Data Hub on a macro level?
I will. Brandon, no, you go. You go, Brandon. I want to hear your take.
Because I just spoke for a while.
Okay. To me, Data Hub, obviously Ops Hub became Data Hub. They rebranded. I come from an operational world, so I'm kind of sad about it, but also it makes more sense because it is where essentially you are enriching your data, you're cleaning your data, and then you're syncing your data. That's like the three major pillars of what happens in Data Hub. And essentially some of that is free. So my like answer to your last question would be, number one thing I would do if I was going to apply features would be go turn on free data enrichment today. It's free. Like if you're in the right starter above, and if you're B2B, it's going to make sense for you. If you're B2C, it won't. But if you're B2B, go turn on data enrichment. It's free. And it's a huge improvement that came from Data Hub.
And it's what they kind of took away from us, right? Like 9 months ago, and they
What
turned
an
off all
uproar
of the
that was, too.
company
Like,
feature.
everybody
Yeah.
chill
Yeah.
out. No, people were pissed. They were really upset.
Yeah, and I am curious, Brandon, like, do you think it replaces third-party tools?
I think it's more of a complement, and I think you won't see people leaving Clay and other enrichment tools or N8N, right, like data orchestration platforms, because there is a lot of value in a purpose-built tool for those things. And even myself, you know, I'm trying out all these new features like Data Agent and looking into Data Studio. We use BI tools, right? We have a data warehouse. I'm not going to turn those things off and completely like move over to HubSpot. But the cool thing is that, especially for less technical people, maybe people who don't know SQL, Chris, for people who, you know, may not have the desire to want to dive into more technical tools, this is a great opportunity for people to be able to have that functionality in HubSpot in a centralized place where they don't have to go and learn Clay, but they can get some of those features and benefits of Clay. But Clay also is built and streamlined in their user interface for data orchestration, for enrichment, waterfall enrichment, and things like that. So no, I wouldn't necessarily replace Clay, but I would definitely use both and just use them to complement each other.
And I think,
Yeah, and
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the accidental things I've seen from Data Hub is when you're using a partner to do some heavy lifting on the migration side, it actually reduces the workload. So if you're working with a partner and they sell time like Growth does, I think it's really valuable. Yes, we need less time to do the things we could do done like a year ago, but now we can use the time for more purposeful, helpful things. So save some money, get more out of it.
I think especially for connecting data into HubSpot, right? And I think that, Amber, your point about like connectivity or getting kind of a single source of truth of data, that's where I think Data Hub really is opened up and like enabled us to do things that we haven't been able to do before. So like enrichment's cool, right? And I agree with you guys where you get your enrichment, what type of data you're enriching, right? Is that firmographic? Is it insights? Like all those things, all these platforms do different things, right? So I think you're going to have to still look to different platforms to know what to use and when to use it. But I think that with Data Hub and Data Studio specifically, we're now able to connect data in and bring it into HubSpot without the need of an integration, without the need of a CDP, right? And some of these tools that we've had to use in the past. So I think in the past, I had to create a data structure and a home for all this to live in my CRM. And then I had to either use a native integration or a connector and bring all this data in. And then I was able to leverage all of that for common use cases like reporting, automation, marketing automation. Today, now you can actually bring data into Data Studio and create data sets and then leverage that data without it actually having to be pushed to your CRM. So there's a lot of powerful use cases now in that regard, as well as reporting, like you were mentioning earlier, where I don't have to go talk to my data team and my business systems team and get this whole thing, spun up with the warehouse and the visualization layer. If I'm a marketer and I can get that data or even that warehouse connected into HubSpot, I can build some of my own reports. So it's very much different use case kind of complement, I think. And it just makes, with HubSpot being that one platform where you're doing so many things and then now able to bring in the rest of the stuff, it just makes some of the other features inside of HubSpot a lot more powerful, which is where I'm excited about the where Data Hub is going.
That's great. And Hayden, great question. Hopefully this covered it. Data Hub and Clay, there's some similarities, but I think to round out the question, if you're looking specifically for enrichment, let's say for like outbound messaging, you still might want to lean on a tool like that to intentionally silo it. But you can also try out Data Hub. There's a lot of data enrichment features that are new and exciting, especially if you haven't gone too deep down the rabbit hole yet of any particular tool. All right, this is a fun one. We've got some marketers here. let's talk about Loop marketing and the Loop marketing framework. Loop challenges the way that we've always done campaigns. Do you see it as a real shift in strategy or just a rebrand of what good marketers were already doing? Amber, what do you think my answer is?
I would say that it's just like a wake up call. It's a lot of the same tactics. So I've been playing, I mentioned before we went on live, like I have tested 65 of the 100 loop prompts in the marketing library. It's all the stuff I used to have to do and spend hours and hours on, but now I can use loop, the prompts specifically to do it in seconds. But it's the same frameworks. It's the same frameworks. And it's just like a wake up call of like, hey, everything you used to do, brand, the importance of brand, the importance of multi-channel strategies, it's all still important. But like, hey, wake up and start putting aside your inbound marketing playbook and start using a loop marketing playbook, because times are changing and so are your buyers.
I think to add to that, I feel strongly that up until recently, it was like pick a channel and own it and crush it. But with the tools and the ability to distribute clips and things across channels, like it's important to be as many places as you can possibly be with distinct effort. It's tricky, but that's exactly what these tools are for. I love that HubSpot now can basically act as your social media planner. Everything can sync up in one place, and with the content remix, it gives you the ability to just create so much more out of something like this, which is our plan. I'm curious, Sean, with such tenure in the marketing space, have you had a chance to dabble much into this new loop framework?
I haven't done as many prompts as Amber.
Well, you guys have to, Mechanics Ware's international, right?
Yes.
And you have some channels that you invest heavily in. Does the idea of taking the content and effort and putting it in places you may not have been resonate?
It does. I would say from my perspective, also, by the way, first year at Inbound. So for me, everything was new, except I could sort of get hints what was rebranded. This to me seemed a little bit like a rebrand. Hey, we're going to call it this. Everyone knows they could have used us for pieces, but we're now calling it Loop. Makes sense. It consolidates the idea. I think opening up ideas for us, it definitely has helped us, at least help me start to explain to the team how we're going to use it. We haven't been there yet. We haven't done enough. I think still need to engage a few other players on my team, but it's all the same frameworks that we were trying to use before. Just now we can do it or think about it in one place.
It's just like we said earlier, iterate, mindset, and company culture really play into whether or not your team is going to be willing and able to adapt to this new universe. So it's just something to think about on the non-tech side. Let's talk about, oh, go ahead, please.
I was going to add one more kind of perspective here. Is I think that when I first heard about Loop, I was like, oh, this does just feel like a rebrand of like a thing that everyone is kind of already doing. But I think stepping back and thinking about it more, it is like, yeah, we're all in it, right? Like this group here is like in it. And so maybe we've been trying these things and this feels obvious. But I do think that there is something to HubSpot, who is a huge, obviously one of the biggest players in the marketing space, to say this is a framework that, they introduced Inbound as a framework 20 years ago almost. And I think that obviously people have been hanging on to that for a long time. So I do think that there's a lot of weight of HubSpot saying, hey, this is what we're doing now, and this is the framework. And yeah, there are people who were already doing that, but just like we were talking about before, there are people who have never used CPQ or are not using a project management tool. And so to have HubSpot say, hey, this is what we're doing now, this is the framework, I do think that there's a lot of power that maybe we can kind of say, oh, we're already doing that and that's fine. But it's still powerful to have a big brand say, this is the new framework for everyone to follow.
100% agree. 100% agree. There's a reason that small companies are able to create niches and drive huge sales quickly, and they're using some of these tactics to create the framework, package it, and put it in front of more established companies. Sean, it's a good idea. All right, at the end of the day, am I here? No, we forgot to talk about Breeze. Let's do that next. AI is everywhere, but how are you actually using it inside of HubSpot today, and what's holding you back from doing more? So let's start with the first part. How are you all using Nicholas Holland's AI features inside of HubSpot? Who wants to take a stab?
I can start us of like how we're doing it today and maybe a little bit of what we're excited about. I think we go back to the data, like, you got to figure your data out first. I think that's a message everyone needs to lean in on, because that's what HubSpot's saying, right? I think it's another reason why they're focusing so much on data. So if you're using some of these agents and they're not working the way you expect them to, I'd say kind of look at both of those together. But we've been testing a lot. I think the data agent is really exciting. Thinking about now that it opens up even to, you can search online, right? So you're looking at new properties or new data that you want to bring in on the records that you have. Say who's raised money in the last 6 months, who's done this, who's done that, and just being able to bring that information in through just that kind of experience of asking questions in an existing data set. The knowledge base agent is kind of a sneaky one that we've been using with a lot of our customers. I think the hard part about building a knowledge base is that you have to sit down and build a knowledge base. And so one of the cool things that it's doing is enabling you to take the questions and answers that your reps give to tickets that come in, and actually then build out knowledge base articles for you based on those responses. So some of those I really prefer because they're just really easy to get started, and the ROI is there. I think where I'm excited about kind of agents going is really as the third-party apps start to build more agents and create a new channel for ways for you to interact with those apps inside of HubSpot. And we're seeing some of those already in the app marketplace. That's where I really think the use case for agents starts to grow. We're even seeing HubSpot release the MCP client, which enables you to actually use agents in HubSpot to do things outside of HubSpot. So I think it's another one of those areas that I tell people let's get in, let's start using it. Let's see how we can build use cases for some of the ones that are done really well right now, but get excited, I think, about what's coming and what, again, that vision is directed towards, because it's a lot. There's a lot. And it's clearly this is where HubSpot's going, right?
Yeah, and everybody that's watching, if you have questions, drop them. We're going to try to answer them live. I think Sean accidentally ran into kind of not a problem, but a opportunity, we can say, Sean, with knowledge based in products, right?
Same spot, Knowledge Vault. I was totally bought into that, but half our knowledge based articles are PIM information, product information, and the product object is not linked on the Knowledge Vault. It's just CRM object right now. So, there's a way around it. I just was hoping that I could just build our product information in one place.
I think it's a sound argument. I'm glad we just gave you a second to talk about it. What else are you using? For me, I'm not an implementer. I am not specifically a marketer inside of our HubSpot account, but I do use the Breeze Assistant app and that MCP connection to actually talk to the data. And I have found one, there's obviously been a big advancement to whatever processing power where a year ago it was very hard to use. I would say now I can get a lot more out of the information my team has put into HubSpot. And it's allowed me to kind of course correct in some areas and then start to look into 2026 and see what industries are hitting well. And I would say as a CEO of a growing company, I am more apt to use my HubSpot account the way that it's intended now than a year ago.
Yeah, something to keep in mind when you're utilizing these AI features is the benefit of AI is mostly found in the LLM model, or just LLMs in general. So taking a lot of unstructured data and then boiling it down to give you an output. And that's where you can really use your curiosity to think of what are all of the different ways that I can take, whether it's web information or it's communications, emails, any meeting notes and things like that. What can I use to then boil that down into insightful information? And so it's really cool to see in workflows that you have these AI capabilities now from HubSpot where you can actually do prompting and take information and maybe even use, custom coded actions or formula building, and take all this information, kind of try to structure it in a way that you want to feed it into the AI and then run a prompt and see what happens. So I think there's a lot of flexibility and power that we have now within workflows alone. And I'm going to start definitely exploring and seeing, what are the use cases that I can think of that could help our revenue teams, where we could take all this unstructured data and feed it in and get something really valuable out of it.
Has anyone connected it outside, by the way? to ChatGPT or Claude or
Yeah, I use that
Yeah.
MCP connection. And that's kind of what I was talking about. I can be in my ChatGPT account and talk to it. I mean, I've got a COO, we've got time to chat, but it's allowed me to be a lot more curious and find some information out that I think is going to inform how we go to market next year.
Yeah, and I just like to give a very direct use case. The other day, I had a prospect who needed examples of past customers. I've only been here a few months, so I don't know all of our past customers. So I literally used a deep research connector with HubSpot to say, give me all the customers I have in manufacturing and safety. Incomes mechanics ware as an example. And it gave me the details of who the point contacts were, deal history, and within like a one prompt, I now can go and be like, hey, we've worked with these types of businesses in the past.
That was a hyper realistic but not exact example. So
Yes. Yes.
and we somehow have blown through 30 minutes. So I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and we're just going to kind of close things out with this last question, if everybody's okay. And if we want to do this again, we will. What's one prediction or bold wish you have for HubSpot by Inbound in 2026? And Kim, would you be willing to kick this one off?
Oh, wow.
A prediction or wish to happen in the next year. So it could be a thing in flight now. It could be that everybody gets arrows free when you have a pro or enterprise plan.
If anyone has something, you all can go. I need to think about this one.
So sorry.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone else has any ideas.
I'll talk about one while you're thinking. I think I've already said a few things I'm excited about coming, but another little like nugget that they dropped when they were talking about some of the things they're developing is like we use custom cards a lot to bring outside data in or even create like custom apps inside of HubSpot to like think of like create unique experiences inside of HubSpot for those needs that don't come out of the box. So like build out a health score program and how to track health scores. Like we have a little custom card and app that we do for that. Well, one of the things they released is that they're going to be opening that up to entire pages. So imagine rather than just this little section of your contact page, right? Like in the middle, you're actually going to be able to create a whole entire page and open that up to kind of what development can happen inside of HubSpot. So it's very much like coming down the down the road, but I hope there's some further insight as to, or even that's available and maybe a beta, before next year's Inbound. Because again, I think for third-party apps and for folks like us that are building kind of those types of things inside of HubSpot, it just opens up a whole nother world of things we can do that we're limited, today.
Sean, what's one thing you're hoping for from the next year?
Wish. It's like a two-part wish. I was sort of jealous when you guys were talking about you guys have teams going to Inbound. I found it very troubling. I couldn't make it to every session I wanted to because of conflict and overlap. That's why I rely on you guys to help fill in the gaps. But also, I think we talked about this at the end of Inbound. All the use cases that they usually bring to light are very SaaS oriented. And just like Amber was saying, she was looking for manufacturing clients, PPE customers, like pull some examples, guys, Inbound, HubSpot, that are outside of your world of SaaS, because I think it broadens people's curiosity and vision for what they could use it for. If you're just using SaaS, you're cutting off, and you're not a provider of a service through the HubSpot ecosystem like some of you guys are.
Amen. I think that's a great one, man. Yeah, Brandon, what do you want to see happen in the next year?
Yeah, I think it'd be good to go over how you can utilize as much features as possible for each individual go-to-market team, and also how to combine everything together. So it's like, what's the value of different tools within HubSpot for each of the teams, and how can you best use it? But then how does that impact every other go-to-market team downstream, like between all of you guys? And I think it's important for people to recognize that silos only happen because you're kind of focusing in on your own goals and team. But if you can think about it as a broader revenue team or a go-to-market team, and think about how's all the things that we're doing in this platform affecting each other, and how can we improve and optimize it together, that would be cool to see in Inbound next year.
How you feeling?
I think I can kind of go. I don't have like a flashy answer for this, and I feel like that's why I hesitated. But my honest answer is like there are so many small quality of life improvements that I think are like all so many people upvoted on the community, and there are so many small things that I think we feel frustrated with or like wish were better in HubSpot every day. And so I think honestly, it's not like a big splashy inbound announcement for inbound 2026, but all of those like little things that we're all kind of feeling and upvoting and commenting on, I really wish for just some of those like minor day-to-day things to be improved in some of the basics.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And for me, I think this year and last year were big on announcements. So for me, next year, it's big on enablement. How do you use the tools? What's working, what's not? And then as a partner and a client of HubSpot is continue to build value in the software. So there are some third-party tools that I would love for HubSpot to just have natively within the functionality. Just continue to drive the value of the product. And that rounds up our first ever LinkedIn Live. I hope everybody enjoyed attending. Thank you, Sean, Brandon, Andrew, Amber, and Kim. I am Chris from Growth, and we will see you all back real soon, I think.
Thanks, y'all.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone.